In our last discourse, we spoke about void in life. Now we will speak about the purpose of human life. One of the reasons why we feel void is because we do not have the direction or goal. It is very obvious that Lord has made automatically a goal for us. It is like rivers which has to flow into the ocean, no matter how crooked their flow might be. Ultimately, it always ends up in the ocean. Similarly, Lord has also made for us a goal that we end up into the source from which we have come. Just like river has essentially come from the ocean, the water of the river has come from the ocean. Similarly, we have come from our Maker, our Creator, whatever name we want to give. It is the Creator from whom we have come and in whom we are going to end up, whether we like it or not. We do not have a choice. It is His wisdom. It is good that we sometimes don't have this kind of choice, and He, of course, knew that. So, in our goal also in life, we do not really have a choice, but our choice is how to select the methods, the path, the equipment that is given to us. We choose them properly, we use them properly to fulfill the goal. We do not waste time in arguing why the goal is to go to God, but whether we are going to be able to do it more smoothly and with less obstruction. So we should not be spending much time in finding out why the goal is this or why it is not otherwise, because it is simply waste of time. There is no wisdom in that. Having accepted something that we have no choice, and that is where the wisdom is, we must always spend our time in trying to fulfill the goal instead of trying to doubt it or argue about it and waste our time and energy. So all the saints of all the time and all ages, of all religions and all places have said the same thing, that the purpose of human life is to realize who we really are. Man should know who he is. And we are part and parcel of God. It is like the ray of the sun and the sun. They are one and the same. In the same way, the drop of water and the ocean, all of them have the same quality. It is a matter of size, which again later on we will see that there is not even the difference in size. So, self-realization then, as we call, is our goal. Freedom, moksha, is our goal. Freedom from desires that make us slave. It imprisons us. So anything that imprisons us, we do not like. We all by nature, even children, from the day one they are born, they like freedom. They like to do what they feel makes them comfortable, but they are children and they don't know the purpose. But they still are looking for freedom to do whatever they like. That is built in us. That is built in the nature. And that is the wisdom. So, to realize who we are is our purpose, and we unfortunately do not know that, and that is why we wander. We sometimes spend all our life seeking the goal. We have smaller goals out of ignorance, and we keep shifting those goals. Sometimes we feel that when we are student, our goal is to graduate, but then we soon find out that goal did not satisfy. Next comes, well, I want to get married, so the goal shifts, and thus goal keeps shifting and shifting and shifting. But if we had the ultimate goal in mind and then use all these things as an instrument to achieve or reach the ultimate goal, then all the smaller goals will also be not so frustrating but rather satisfying or fulfilling our life and our goal also. So we will see in future how our smaller goals can all contribute if we can focus and remember our ultimate goal. If we are going to San Francisco, then we have to remember the direction of San Francisco. We must want to remember the map, and we watch on the highway the distance, the signs, so that we are not ending up somewhere in New York. while we really wanted to go to San Francisco. Similarly, if our goal is God, then we should know the path, we should know the signs, whether we are traveling along on the right road, and that we are progressing, and that it should end someday into the goal so that we can enjoy our ultimate goal. So the purpose of then human life is to realize that we are part and parcel of God. Most of us have made the purpose of human life as we see normally education, name and fame, wealth, and pleasures of life, as we have just talked in our last discourses. But those are not the goals. They can sometimes become the means to the goal if we properly use them, but otherwise they can also become obstruction. The same thing that can help us to advance and create happiness in us can also, if not wisely used, can create obstruction to our happiness. It is like food. If we use food properly, the right kind of food, the right amount of food at right time, then it is very healthy, it gives us energy and joy. But the same food, if we overeat or eat at wrong time or we cannot digest, then it becomes a poison for us. So in life also, everything God has given us, if not properly consumed, used and understood, then of course it can become a poison instead of a nectar. These are the beauties of laws that Lord has made, which are not very obvious, which are not we cannot see with physical eye or ear, and yet we have the inner organs that are capable to make us realize that we are part and parcel of God. As a matter of fact, God is within us to help us to realize this. So I know that in one of our scriptures, and I use scriptures as our yardstick because there is always a possibility that man out of pride or ignorance can make his own laws. But we want to always follow the wisdom of the wise that has stood through the ages. It has stood the test of thousands of years, so that we can trust, and it is an experienced knowledge. One of the saints, Shankaracharya, did say that it is very rare. Durlabham trayam eva etat eva anugraha hetukam manusyatvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samsrayaha. It is very difficult to have the combination of these three things, which is only due to grace of God: the human birth, the intense desire to know why we are born, and what is the potential of human birth, what is all this world about, who is God, who are we, who are our fellow men, what is this creation all about, the intense desire to know and then to understand, and above all, guidance of a holy man or a saint who loves us, who has no private angle or personal gain to be made from us, because he has everything he needs, being part and parcel of infinite happiness. So if we can get such a person, we might call him a guru, guide, or lover of God, and if he can guide us, then these three combinations indeed is the greatest blessing a human being can have. And what are those three again? To be born as a human being, to have intense desire to know the truth and what is the right happiness and how to find ourselves, and then somebody to guide us constantly, like a mother would guide a child, as the child needs to be guided, being not the intellect not being properly developed, does not know wisdom through experience. So mother is always required until the child can be on his own feet. So then these three things have been, three combinations are rare, and most of us are human beings. We do have sometimes desire to know the truth when we suffer, when we are unhappy, when we are depressed, and we wonder what is life all about. That is it all this that life is about? And at that time we have some intensity or some inner voice telling us that we are not satisfied with what we are getting, telling us that maybe there is something else we are looking for. And then by God's grace, of course, God is always within us to guide us. I don't think we need to even worry about whether the saint will come and help us. If we are sincere, if we are honest to ourselves, it is God's responsibility to send us a guide, to send us a saint, to send us the direction, the map, the books, the friends, whether it comes through inner voice or our own experience. I think that we should not worry about the guidance as much as the sincerity within us, the intense desire that I want to move toward this path. Once you have that, everything else follows. My own experience tells me that if we have sincere desire to know the truth, to know God, to experience love, then He makes all necessary arrangements in due course, depending on our sincerity and how we make use of it. Everything necessary is added by God. It should not be our as much concern whether He will help us or not, but it is our concern that are we sincere, and we always know in our conscience whether we are sincere or not. So it always comes back to us, and it is good that we have a control over our life and nobody else has a control, so we should not blame anybody else. Whether we have strong desire or not, strictly we know within our conscience. So I think that all of us have the opportunity, no matter what our past, what we think the mistakes we might have made, knowingly or unknowingly, it does not matter. Every human being under all conditions has an opportunity to reshape his life or her life, to reconsider the situation as is and improve and start a brand new life with God's grace, because God never holds us responsible for the past mistake as long as we just request or we ask for forgiveness. God is always willing to forgive, like a mother is always willing to forgive the child. She even expects sometimes the child will mess around, but that is her job to keep the child on the right path and see that he doesn't suffer. God, therefore, is even the mother of mother, much wiser than our normal mother, and therefore has always got the desire to help us under all conditions and does not look at our weaknesses or what we have done in the past. Now then, in order to fulfill this human goal, our ancestors from experience, and I think that we should always look for the wisdom. Wisdom is never ancient, wisdom is never future, wisdom is simply wisdom. And so we should not never write off in the name of our own foolish wisdom that whatever was in the past is no good, we have to advance and create new wisdom. We can always check out whether the wisdom that we have been given is real wisdom by our own experience. There is no harm in that. As a matter of fact, we must always experience what we have been told. We need not borrow knowledge blindly, even from scriptures or even from saints. Saints don't feel bad at all if you tell them that I want to experience what you are saying. They are not hurt. As a matter of fact, they expect us that we experience through practice what they are telling us. So in order to then achieve our human goal, and even in Sri Krishna Bhagavan has said that after many births, after many suffering, every birth is a suffering. Suffering for the child, when he is born, he starts crying. Mother also has pain in delivering the baby. And not knowing the laws, we also suffer in life. And death is also painful to every one of us. So suffering is all there. Life after life, year after year, we suffer, and ultimately, after having suffered many times, many births, by grace of God and our good sanskars, after all we suffer, but we also do some good works. I don't think that the world can survive without good people, no matter how many evil people are there. Evil alone cannot survive without good around it. So we always have good in us, and of course there is some evil. And that war that is always going on in our conscience is the war that we have to win. Nobody is totally evil and nobody is totally good. Only saints are totally good, but the body that we have, of course, is again creating problem even for saints. So we should not feel bad that we are not totally good, and of course we do not want to be totally bad, because God is always within us. No matter, even a prostitute has God within us. It is a diamond that within us that we have not polished, so but the diamond has not left us. So under all conditions, no matter how evil we may be, God has never left us. It is we who have forgotten Him, and we who sometimes deny knowingly because out of pride and ignorance, but even that does not cause God to leave us. So we always have a hope, no matter what our past, that we can restructure our life, reconsider our life, we can be reborn in this very life at any age. And God not only forgives us, but we are like children in His lap, and we can have a brand new life, forgetting all the past and not, of course, worry about the future. We also recognize that the goal of human life is self-realization, but that is ultimate. There is a gradation or a step-by-step process towards reaching towards our goal. We also recognize that there are 4 things a human being must work with or keep in mind, and those are dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. Every human being has to follow certain laws that we call dharma. Dharma, what we call religion, is not a right translation. Dharma really means the laws. Like, what is the dharma of the sun? The dharma of the sun is to give continuously light and energy, irrespective of whether people like it or not, whether they follow the energy or not. He simply keeps giving and giving and giving. So that is the then religion or dharma of the sun. The dharma or the nature, what we might call, of the river is to deliver water. Dharma of the ocean is also to give water. Dharma of mother is to give love to the child. So this way our nature, what our duty is, what should be natural to us, that is dharma that we will be defining later on, so that there is no confusion that what is the dharma of a human being. Then what is the human being consists of, which we will be talking about very soon. But dharma means then the nature. Nature of the sun, nature of the tree is to give fruits, nature of air to give us the energy, oxygen. So these are the natures, what we call then the dharma of that particular element. We also have dharma. Human being has dharma. We already mentioned that the dharma of human being is self-realization, because he being himself God, he has to simply realize or be conscious. Not that we have to bring God from outside. We already possess God, but we are not aware of it. We may have diamond in our pocket, but we do not know we have diamond. If a child is given a diamond, he might consider it as a stone, because he does not have the training of a jeweler to know the value of a diamond. Similarly, we who have God within us are like children and we haven't got the training to recognize the value of diamond. So this then, recognition is our dharma. Our dharma is God within us. We have to realize it, and that is then the dharma for a human being. And what are the paths we'll be talking about. So dharma is one thing human being has to keep in mind. There is another thing, necessarily we all need wealth, artha. And wealth means whatever is our necessity, we have converted that into only money. But artha also means all types of wealth, even education, that of course creates wealth. So wealth that is necessary and useful to us and others is also our goal or necessity or requirement. There is no harm in wealth if the wealth does not rule us. It is like if we have a horse, we are supposed to ride the horse, and we hope that the horse does not ride us. We are supposed to ride the wealth, means use the wealth, instead of we become the slave of wealth. We today notice, whether we realize or not, we are slaves of wealth. We are running after wealth. We are never satisfied. We don't even know how to make good use of it. We run after wealth for the sake of wealth. We even don't know or don't have time even to use what we have. So we then thus have become a slave of wealth. We should be riding wealth instead of wealth riding us or becoming or making us slave. So artha is also a legitimate goal of human beings, as long as he earns legitimately, he does not overlook his other duties, and above all the duty of realization, self-realization, that he does not forget his other responsibilities in the family and to the society, as a human being, to the nature, and to God, our own creator. So, earth then, or the wealth, is useful as long as it is properly used. Otherwise, it can become a burden. And most of us, unfortunately, wealth has become burden. If we have excessive wealth, it has become burden. If we have less, it is obviously we are not happy because we need it. So wealth we must create, but we must create with honest means, with hard work, and then also hope that whatever is excessive we must use for the good of the others. We should try to keep our needs under control. We should not limit our earning power as long as it is within reason, but then use the wealth for the proper usage that will help us to travel towards self-realization. Purpose of dharma, artha, all are means to our self-realization. Then there is a kamna, desire. One of the biggest desire is when we get married. It is even sexual desires or have to have children. But calm should also be under control. Calm, again, if it is excessive or improperly used, can make a slave, which we all know that even at the time of marriage, each one becomes a slave of other, whether we realize or not. And thus, calm, as much as any other thing, makes a slave if we do not know how to deal with kamna or the desires. Desires may be for physical happiness or children, desire may be to become famous, desire to become president, desire to become a big actor or actress or whatever it may be. All these kamnas, unless they are meant to serve the people, to serve the Lord, to make it as an instrument of our happiness and to achieve the goal, it's going to be an enemy, and it is usually an enemy number one. So we have to be very vigilant that everything we have, if we don't know how to control it, if we don't know how to use it properly, then they will ride us, and we will be filling that void we talked about earlier. But even these three, dharma, artha, and kam, our nature, our religion, our duties, the wealth, and the desires, are only, no matter how good they may be and how successfully we may execute, they are still temporary, they are in transition, and being not permanent, they do not satisfy us no matter how well we handle them. And so, ultimately we come to a conclusion that we want freedom from all of them, and that we call moksha. Again then, that freedom from this, or trying to make use of it and then overcome it, that ultimately brings us to the goal of moksha, freedom, or what we call yoga, means combining or joining with our Creator, which again, as we say, was our goal of self-realization or becoming one with God. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the scripture that we are going to talk about, we are going to expound in as simple a language as possible, because Gita is a prescription for every human being. It's a universal, it's global in nature, and we'll try to point that out. It is to help you to restructure our life towards happiness and ultimate goal. How to unite ourselves to our Creator. We are actually united, but we are not aware of it. And so really the purpose is to make us aware that we are God, that we are already united, but we know not. And any time we have wealth but we know not, we are beggars. Any time we have knowledge but we forget, it is not knowledge, because it's not going to help us. If you have bank account and if you have forgotten we have bank account, that means you have no money. So it is this forgetfulness that is causing us a great problem, and forgetfulness then can be brought into control by studying constantly what we call Abhyas Yoga, constantly meditating, practicing, and we will be touching that subject also later on as a path towards our goal of self-realization. we talked about these four essential aspects: dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. So there is nothing wrong. I want you to not feel guilty about our dharma if properly understood, wealth if it is not misused, our desires if we don't let them ride us, and of course moksha, which will be ultimately give us the joy that we are looking for. All of us are looking for joy. Joy means we don't want pain, but there is nothing in this world that is not coupled with pain. Anytime you want wealth, you have to pay for it. So we say that we already mentioned there is no free lunch. Everything we want to buy or we have desires, there is a payment. And that payment usually is much more than what we receive. Unfortunately, because of we lack wisdom, we always pay more than what we are getting. And that is why we need wisdom, so that we will get more than what we have to pay, and that is possible only in spiritual path and not in the worldly path. So all these things we will have to learn properly so that ultimately we are not deceived. We are a good buyer, and if we are a buyer, we must be educated buyer. We should know what we are trying to buy. We should know the price we have to pay, its utility, its function, its usefulness, and whether it's going to help us to reach our goal. It's like buying a car. You ought to know what car you are going to buy and what is the price, and how do you know that that is the right car. You ask people who know about it, who have used the car. Same way we go to a saint who knows the life about, and we ask his help, as we already said. So then these are the things we want to keep in mind as we conclude this particular topic, that what is the purpose of human life? It is self-realization. It is not our choice. It is fixed for us. It is a beautiful thing, and any other deviation is going to cause us pain. It is an ultimate thing that all the people or the saints have realized this. They have tried other things, and having tried everything else, this was the ultimate realization, that God realization is our goal. I think that I would very much like you to meditate on the purpose of human life, because I know that very few of us, even I myself for many, many years, did not know the purpose of human life, and we just wander along, just passing time as if in life, living as if we are not dying. And human life is so precious, so beautiful, no matter what we may have made of it, it is still, as long as we are breathing and alive, we still have the greatest thing that God could have given us, the human life, and possible wisdom that we can retrain ourselves. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.